Welcome everyone to my channel. Let's talk about the finance, economy and other news. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video and let's start.
Their kids are going to live under. And you say, I can design anything? And Ginny says, yeah, you can do it. And you say, well, there must be a catch. He says, well, there is a catch. You don't know whether you're going to be born black or white, rich or poor, male or female, infirm or able-bodied, bright or retarded. All you know is you're going to take one ball out of a barrel that's got 5.8 billion. You're going to participate in what I call the ovarian lottery. You're going to get one ball out of there. And that is the most important thing that's ever going to happen to you in your life, because that is going to control whether you're born here or in Afghanistan, or whether you're born with an IQ of 130 or an IQ of 70. It's going to determine a whole lot. And you're going to go out of the world and you're going to have that ball. Now, what kind of a world do you want to design? Well, I think that's a good way to look at social questions, because not knowing which ball you're going to get, you're going to want a ball that you're going to want design a system that's going to produce lots of goods and services, because you're going to want people on balance to live well. And you're going to want it that produces more and more, so your kids live better than you do and your grandchildren live better than the kids. But you're also going to want a system that, if it does produce lots of goods and services, does not leave behind a person that accidentally got the wrong ball and is not well wired for this particular system. See, I'm ideally wired for the system I fell into here. I mean, I came out and I got something that enables me to allocate capital. You know, nothing so wonderful about that. If all of us were stranded on a desert island, you know, we all landed there and we're never going to get off of it, you know, the most valuable person would be the one that could raise the most rice, you know, over time. And you know, I could say, well, I can allocate capital. How about paying me?
The United States dollar exchange rate on the over-the-counter market dropped below 100 rubles, while the euro trades around 105.5 rubles and yuan stands at 13 rubles. According to BKS, Russian broker, the Russian ruble has fully recovered from the decline caused by United States sanctions imposed on Gazprom Bank and other financial institutions. Just recently, Finance Minister Anton Siluanov in Russia predicted that the situation would stabilize within a week or two in 2024. The ruble has bounced back from the drop caused by the latest United States sanctions, writes BKS. These sanctions restricted Gazprom Bank's ability to conduct export transactions, which led to a currency supply shortage and market panic. On the evening on December 5, the President revised the payment process to gas transactions through Gazprom Bank. Previously, foreign companies opened special key accounts for these purposes. Now, Russian suppliers open ruble accounts, and buyers must deposit funds in rubles, even via third parties. Additionally, the central bank had early suspended foreign currency purchases until the end of the year. Finance Minister Anton Siluanov believes the ruble will stabilize within a week or two. Analysts in Sber forecast that the ruble will stabilize by the end of the year at around 105 per dollar and 14.5 per yuan. They predict that by the end of 2025, the ruble could weaken to 115 per dollar and 15 per yuan. Meanwhile, banks expect the dollar to trade at around 108 rubles by the end of the next year in its base scenario, with a possible drop to 114 rubles in a negative scenario. At the start of the trading, the ruble showed, as you see, a gradual weakening against the yuan, which hit a weekly high of approximately 13 rubles. By mid-session, the Russian currency moved into correction territory but still remained significantly down for the day. The ruble's depreciation continues, driven by an increasing imbalance in Russia's foreign exchange market. On one hand, the supply of foreign currency remains relatively low due to continued pressure on exports from sanctions and declining oil prices. On the other hand, demand for foreign currency may keep rising, fueled by traditional end of year increases in budget spending and consumer activity ahead of the holidays, which in turn boosts imports. Meanwhile, a new report released by Россtat after the market closed yesterday showed a noticeable rise in weekly inflation and a slight increase year-on-year. However, as of the October, annual inflation had decreased and was below forecast, as was the weekly rate. Amid historically high interest rates set by the central bank and growing financial instability, residents of Novosibirsk are turning to banks for loans far less frequently. Experts warn that this trend could significantly reshape the country's financial landscape, influencing consumer behavior and living standards. Let's dive deeper into the story. Residents of Novosibirsk, like many Russians, find themselves in an unfamiliar financial situation. With the central bank's key rate at record levels, as you see, combined with economic uncertainty and heightened international tensions, many are reevaluating their spending habits. As a result, loan volumes are plummeting. People are avoiding borrowing money due to high interest rates and the fear of unpredictable financial consequences. According to the central bank, the average weighted interest rates for both short-term and long-term retail loans rose in August to 27% and 19% respectively. Short-term loan rates, especially for after loans, surged by 1.4 percentage points in just a month, with after loans jumping by 6.6 points. Long-term loan rates have also reached their highest level since 2015. However, the family mortgage programs has slightly lowered the average mortgage rate to 9.3%. In Novosibirsk, the decline in interest began in July. Central bank data shows that in June, residents took out loans totaling 64.8 billion rubles, including mortgages. By July, this figure dropped sharply to 48 billion and slightly decreased further to 48.5 billion in August. Data for September isn't yet available. Locals admit they are reluctant to borrow due to what they describe as unreasonably high rates. I was renovating my home and needed 120,000 rubles, says Elizaveta, a local resident. They offered me a loan at over 25% for a year. I decided it was too expensive and didn't take it. A couple of weeks ago, my bank sent me a message offering a great loan at 37% per year. Is this joke? Why not 100%? Remarks Anna, another resident. Vitaly adds, the last loan I took was 3 years ago with a rate around 12%. With today's rates, I'm not interested at all. I've even heard some banks offer loans at 60-70%. Most of my friends are sticking to credit cards they opened years ago instead of taking new loans. The reduced demand for loans is also affecting banking employees. Staff at two commercial banks confirmed that loan officers' earnings, which largely depends on commission from issued loan and credit cards, have significantly dropped. This applies to both individuals and businesses, says Sergey, a bank employee. People aren't taking loans and businesses are avoiding them too. Our salaries have decreased significantly as a result. Anna, a manager adds, clients hear the interest rates and walk away. Sales have plummeted and we are working almost entirely on base salaries. Management is now considering raising fixed pay to compensate. Olga Valeyeva, Senior Research Fellow at the Institute of Economics and Industrial Production of the Siberian branch of the Russian Academy of Sciences, points to several factors behind the declining demand for loans. One major reason is the rising interest rates driven by the central bank's key rate hike. Higher borrowing costs make loans less attractive, while people's incomes aren't growing fast enough to keep up. Another factor is the explosive growth of consumer lending over the past 2 years. The central bank data reveals that in the first half of this year alone, the number of borrowers increased by 7.7% and total debt rose by 24%. However, with the income growth slowing, demand for all types of loans is dropping. Valeva also warns that the rise in loan default poses a risk of financial sector stability. Economist agrees, noting that banks have tightened lending criteria under pressure from regulators. They believe this situation is likely to persist for at least a year, calling it a deliberate policy by the central bank that theoretically reduced borrowing should decrease the money supply, helping lower inflation to the target rate of 4%. The central bank's key rate has effectively become a filter, encouraging a more cautious and deliberate approach to financial decisions. Whether this shift will benefit the overall economy remains to be seen.